do the slideshow first, and then after that, Ken is going to share a little bit with us. So I just want to start here. Here's a map. We have 3 maps here. This shows us the Dominican and Haiti sharing a little island there.
Can everybody hear?
Can everybody hear?
You just need to go louder. I think you're a little quiet.
Okay, so this is exactly where we're going to be. This town is called Mayor. We have some facts here about the Dominican, Troy. Okay, believe it or not, their population is 10.6 million, is the last reported. That's a lot for a tiny little island. Mostly Roman Catholic. The capital is Santo Domingo. We unfortunately won't see the capital this year. We went last year to the capital, but we're going to fly into Punta Cana, which is more of a resort type area. And then the trip from Punta Cana to Mayor is 2.5 hours or so in a bus.
Did everybody get one of these?
Everybody got a packet? Okay. So, just because we do medical, I threw in, I read up a little bit on their healthcare system. So their healthcare system is like a 3-tier system, and the poorest of the poor get socialized medicine. But once you're down there, you will really understand that their access to healthcare is like non-existent. They have public hospitals there. I've been in the hospital. I have visited the hospitals there, the public hospitals. Sometimes they don't have gloves. Sometimes they don't have the bandages that they need. Sometimes they don't have IV fluids. Like, it's just really different than what we would experience here. If you go to a private hospital, they have a lot of private clinics, they call them. You have to pay your bill before you are treated. So a Haitian can't walk into a private clinic and get treatment because there's no way that they would be able to afford it. In fact, I've taken a Haitian there, and as soon as I walked through the door and they saw me with a Haitian, they said, "Wait a minute, who's paying for this?" And we had to assure them that we would cover it, it would be paid for, and he could get the treatment that he needed. Okay, so we're going to see a lot of different types of housing while we're there. I wish I would have put a video in. There, we have some videos of us walking through the villages, but these are just a couple different types of houses that you'll see. There's tin houses. They just whatever tin they can find, they can make a house out of. And then there's wooden houses. Typically, when you see tin and wooden houses, they are built by that person that lives in it. Then you'll see block row houses, they're called. These are typically owned by the sugarcane owners. So whoever owns the field, they kind of like own the workers that work the field. And these are the houses that are provided for the workers. Real small, just one room. If you look at some of the pictures on your tables, you might see we have a lot of pictures of the inside of these houses. Very small, they can maybe fit a bed, and that's about it, a table.
How many of you guys have gone with us before? And how many of you are totally new to this trip? Okay. Good. Okay, yeah, as just said, some of these, it's an interesting experience because even in some of these villages, you'll see guys riding around on horses with like a rifle strapped to them, or at least a handgun or something. They're just kind of the police, I guess, of these, or they keep track of everything in the sugarcane companies and all that. So don't let that alarm you, I guess. I mean, it's interesting to see, but as long as everybody stays together, there's no problems.
Okay, so this is the town. You will see miles and miles of sugarcane fields, but we will be right outside of this town. It's called Mayor. A lot of little businesses, which is why don't really like to take a whole lot of donated stuff with us anymore because we can buy it there. Anything that you can think of that you want to donate, you can buy it there. It's helping the little businesses, it's sustaining them, it's helping the economy, and we don't have to pay for extra baggage. So if people ask you, can you take donated items, we prefer that you tell them we can take the money that you would like and spend it on whatever you want to donate. School supplies, clothing, home items, anything like that.
Also, I don't think there's been a year yet that we haven't run into something where we could use money to help some sort of cause. There's always been something. One year, I think, Warren, I think you guys had money and we bought somebody a refrigerator they didn't have anything like that. So the young boy, well, he's a teenager, but he was the one who was the main support person of the family. And so the point is that a lot of people want to donate things and it's out of a great heart, but we have found that makes things, it's not as good or as effective as having money to buy things and meet needs when we run into them.
So these are just a couple more pictures of the town. This gas station is one of the main gas stations in Montemayor. It's used as a cut through to get from one road to another if they want to avoid the light. It's crazy. Wait till you see the driving. But we have a video here of the driving through the town. It's just a very short clip. So whoever beeps their horn first goes first. There's stop signs, but there's no such thing as stopping at stop sign. I don't know why they have them. You'll see a lot of houses like that. Big trucks, motorcycles weaving in and out of them. It's just insane.
Yeah, and you'll see 5 people riding on one motorcycle.
With carrying a mattress or a bag of chickens or yeah.
The first time I was ever there, when Jess was living there, we drove by. Somehow 2 guys were holding straight up and down like a queen-size mattress on a motorcycle.
It was
I have no idea how.
Sheets of plywood.
Yeah, it is crazy. So when we travel, now MGM has kind of, we used to ride in nothing but cattle trucks. So we would stand in the back of cattle trucks the entire time. So if a village was 45 minutes away or an hour away, we were in the back of a cattle truck for an hour. They've kind of transitioned and they use a lot of buses now, just for safety reasons and liability reasons for them. We will occasionally travel on cattle trucks. They usually use them if we go short distances now. And this is a smaller group, so I'm not sure how that'll split up this year, but just be prepared for that. Honestly, it's one of my favorite things to do. You get to see everything and you don't miss anything, that's for sure. So that's just a little bit about how we travel. So this is the compound that we'll be staying in for those of you who have not gone before. It may be reassuring for you to know that it is a gated compound. There's this building over here. Those are apartments that some of us stay in. This building here is the main building. It has the dining room, it has dorm style rooms, and then it has individual rooms up top. It also has a place where we worship.
Yeah, so those of you who are married, you will have your own rooms. That's one of the nice things about being here. They have a lot of options for rooming, so we'll be able to provide that. We'll talk a little bit more about that later, but this is for a mission trip, especially if you've never gone on one before. You're probably not going to get much closer to America as far as lodging as you will with this. Unless you stay in Punta Cana, but that doesn't count.
So this is where we will worship and do devotions every morning. So just a couple things about the compound. We ask that if you go outside the compound, there's a basketball court out back, the deaf school is across the road, they love visitors, that kind of thing. But we ask that you do go in groups. We don't ever want to be separated from one another, even there at the compound. It's a very, very, very safe place to be, but we also want to be very cautious of what we're doing. There's a village right down the road, there's people that live around there. So we just prefer that you always go with somebody and let somebody know, hey, I'm walking over to the deaf school, I'm going, you know, whatever. Just stay in groups.
You need to also, like if you went down to the basketball court or something like that, once it even begins to start getting dusk, you want to come up to the compound. I mean, it's a safe place. I don't want to make it sound like it's not, but it's not safe if you do something dumb, like stay out in the dark by yourself. So if you use common sense, things like that, everything will be just fine.
We ring the bell for dinner usually around 5 o'clock, so everybody comes and eats dinner around that time. It's best not to go back down after that time. Usually by then, you know, all the locals have dispersed and there's really not anybody down there. The kids at the gate have left, and so it's just kind of best not to go back down there after that time. Also, this is the dining area. For anybody that is wondering, we have plenty of clean water. Okay, the compound has a filtering system. Anything in the orange jugs, like you see there, you want to drink out of those orange jugs. You want to brush your teeth, like get a cup of water, wet your toothbrush, brush your teeth out of that jug of water. Fill your water bottles. When you get a shower, the water is filtered, but not through the same filtration system, so it's not as good as the drinking water. It's very safe, but don't open your mouth under the water. Just keep your mouth closed while you're doing that.
It's not worth risking. I mean, it's really kind of safe, but I wouldn't risk it. The other thing is those water jugs will be everywhere we go. They'll be on every floor. They'll be in multiple different rooms. Every truck that we send out, every bus will have water jugs. So there's everything that you need will go out with us.
Take a bottle.
Yeah, make sure you take a water bottle.
It's hot.
And when you take a water bottle, make sure that it has a cap that goes over the top, because the kids will want to hang all over you. If they grab your water bottle and touch where you were drinking, you have no idea what's going to be on your water bottle then, and you don't want to get sick down there because that's not going to be fun.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest things going out into the village that we ask is please, please, please do not share. It sounds so bad and it almost sounds a little heartless, but please do not share with the kids food,
or
your
drinks,
water bottles.
Yeah.
You don't know what they've come in contact with, parasites, things like that. It is a very, very bad idea.
Yeah, and well, we'll talk about that when we do it.
Okay, so this is the back of the compound, and the kids hang out here on some of the table. One of the tables, there's bracelets there. They'll be selling bracelets, little purses, things like that. You can buy a bracelet from them. You can, hang out with them, talk with them. A lot of them can speak English. They won't tell you that they can speak English because they want to hear what you're saying, but a lot of them can speak English. Just be mindful of what they're asking. If they're asking $5 for a bracelet, please do not pay them $5 for a bracelet. If, bracelets are $1, shoe cleaning is $1. Like, when you get your hair braided, they want to braid your hair. It's fantastic. I do it every time I'm there. I look like a fool, but it's amazing. They'll want to braid your hair. Please don't pay them $20 to braid your hair. They take that money and they will tell you, oh, my family needs food, my family needs food. I can assure you that they're not using the money for food for their family. So please just be very mindful, and it's great to help them. It is. It's great to pay them for what they're doing for you, but be very mindful of how you're giving to them.
You have to, I think, be aware of the human condition is in all places, meaning that we try to fulfill ourselves with things we don't need. For instance, you will find some of these people, we've seen it, where they have a dirt floor and no food, but they have an internet router hanging in their house.
And a cell phone in their hand.
Yeah. They won't have minutes on their cell phone, but they'll have an iPhone. No. They waste money on things they don't need. The point is, number one, you have to recognize that there are more problems than we can fix by just giving them money. And two, we question why would they do that, but just to point out, we do the same thing in America. We just have credit. They don't.
So just It's fun. It is fun to talk with them. It is fun to hang out with them. Just keep in mind, they will ask you, there's a snack shack right there. They will ask you for food. If you don't have enough food to give to every kid that's standing at the gate, then please don't give them food. There's little kids there and they're watching another little kid eat an ice cream or a bag of chips, and they are so hungry. So if you don't have enough to give to everybody, just, keep it tucked away.
That also, just so I don't forget, in the villages, another reason to not share your food is because that could turn into a big deal very quick. If you start, I remember one time I was down there, a lady was walking around handing out candy piece by piece as she came across the kid. That turned into a real mess, right? Because they get upset if they don't get something, or some of them will say I didn't get something, and then it just gets to be a big deal. So if there's ever anything like that, like we have candy or something that we want to give to kids, we need to wait till we're about to leave and do it in a systematic way. Because even then it's going to be really difficult. So the point is, it could get really bad quick if we try to just give out stuff randomly.
Yeah.
And in all those situations, the drivers and the interpreters are going to know how to handle it
Yeah.
the best.
Yeah.
If you have no idea how to hand something out, ask someone from MGM.
For example, this is a good example. Last year, we had bags of stuff to give out. It was one of the very last years. And we went to a village that I had found when I was living down there. And apparently, from what we understood from the drivers and our translator, nobody had been back to that village in years since I left there. So when we got there, those people were like rowdy. They were fired up. They were ready because they knew that Americans were coming. They had something for them. So we made them all go to their home, and we went door by door giving them stuff. And I'm telling you, it's still turned into a dangerous situation where we had to, come on guys, everybody get on the truck, let's go. Like, we have to, this is it, we can't do that. And so even doing it in a systematic way, it turned into a situation where we had to be very cautious, and unfortunately we had to just get on the truck and go our way. That's just something sometimes that happens.
If you run into something in the village that you see really needs dealt with, just make sure you talk to us, or if we're not there, talk to a translator, talk to MGM staff. There's got to be somebody you can talk to, just because a lot of times there is something behind what they're telling you one thing. Just for instance, I think there was a guy who had, something was wrong, his ankle was all messed up, I don't remember. And we treated him in medical, and we were thinking about how terrible that leg injury was. Here, come to find out, I got home and I was telling Jess about it. She had taken him, I think, to get a cast put on. He broke his leg because he was fighting with somebody. And what happened? He broke his leg somehow, and he took the cast off so he could fight somebody. So that's why his leg was still messed up. So the point is that just because they're telling you something doesn't mean that that's what's actually happening.
And some of them will ask you for money for medical reasons. They will say, I need X amount of money. This one guy had a catheter. He said, I need to go buy a new catheter from the hospital. I need some money. And giving out anything like that in the village it's just dangerous. It puts everybody in a very bad position. So if, like Josh was saying, we are more than happy to help anybody in the village that truly needs help, and we will make it happen, but we have to do it the right way, and we have to use people who can really understand for us.
So this is construction ministry. I don't know yet what our project is. The thing we run into when we go in February is Meeting God and Missions has people down there all through this month, every week. Nick is actually on his way there right now. He's preaching down there this week. But we never know for sure what we're going to run into, because it's always kind of whatever they get done or don't get done this month, we will kind of work on that stuff. But these are, I think this is a house over here. We were putting the roof on.
That
This
one was
was
roof, windows, doors, and then paint.
This was
The one on the
14
right.
where the roofs were
Okay.
falling in.
Yeah,
I think.
so this village here, we've done this a couple times, but there was a village where the houses were built a long time ago and the roofs were made of concrete. And you have rebar, partway through the concrete in the middle, and everything under the rebar was falling in on people. So what we were doing was they tore off these roofs, and we had to kind of level it and block it up and put new roofs on the houses that we did a few of them, and MGM did them, and I think that whole village is done now. But those are some of the things you'll run into. And one of the things you'll notice when you drive into, like Atomayor, or especially when we're in Punta Cana, and we'll drive through some larger towns on our way to the mission compound, but it's not really going to look that terrible to you. Sometimes the first time I went to Atomayor, it's like, this doesn't really look that bad. But number one, a lot of it's a show. Like we said, they'll have a cell phone or something, but they can't afford it. But they might have a nice house, but they're not running water. Or the other thing is, we're not working necessarily right in the city. We'll go like 45 minutes out in the middle of the sugarcane fields where it's the Haitian people, and it's a totally different world than what we'll see in the towns.
So prayer ministry, it's honestly probably one of the most effective ministries that we do down there in the Dominican. We usually split up into groups depending on how many people are interested in doing prayer ministry. This is during medical clinic. We try and have a pastor in with the medical team, and as the people are being seen and leaving, they will stop and pray with a pastor. Just gives them an opportunity. It's not all about physical healing. A lot of them need a lot of spiritual healing, and so it's great to have a pastor there. And then the other groups will split up, and they will just walk through the village. People will invite you into their home. That's okay. You can go into their home. You can pray with them. A lot of them, they just want to talk to you. They just want to tell you about their kids and who they are, and what their husbands do or what they do, and that's okay. You can go into their home. Just stay in the groups that you're in. It's a very effective way of ministering. So some of the pastors that are here will go over some more stuff with you when we break up. Children's ministry. This is going to be an interesting ministry for us this year, as Josie is not going with us, and she has, for 6 years, 5 years, 6 years, she has been the VBS person. I'm not great with, I have a kid, but that's about as far as it goes. So I know a couple people have said they're more than willing to help, so after we're done here, we'll break up, and hopefully it's a couple people who are willing to tell me what I'm supposed to do or take charge or whatever. Medical. Heather will go over medical once we break up here. Derek is going with us this year. He's a PA sitting over there. And we also have a nurse practitioner that we got very last minute to go with us because unfortunately Dr. Guillen can't go this year. So medical, we see a lot of people, and I apologize for those of you in VBS and prayer, but sometimes you're waiting on us to finish. But we do our best to be efficient, provide good care, and get them through and not leave everybody waiting a long time.
So we will, probably 2 or 3 times we will go out so you can actually experience being what it's like in a congregation in the Dominican Republic. Our pastors will preach, and it will be, so the pastor will preach and it'll be translated for the Dominicans, and it's really an amazing experience to be able to see how they worship and what God does in them. It is very, very loud. If you think your church is loud, you haven't seen anything.
Honestly, it's not even a joke.
Yeah.
Put a pair of earplugs in your pocket. I'm not trying, it's not mean.
No,
you will hear them through the earplugs. It's no problem.
Yeah. So they worship in the midst of, like this church, for instance. We'll talk about this in a second, but this is Pastor Osnell's church, and I mean it's pieced together. It's very hot. We've been in other churches. What was it? I think last time Ken and Lori were there in that really small church, and we had, I mean, I don't know if it was maybe 15 by 15 rooms, something like that. But we had, I mean, it was packed. You could not get one more person in there. And it was unbelievably hot. But it's awesome to see how excited they are in the midst of that. I always say that it's an American worship leader's nightmare because they, like this church, the one time they're picking the songs out of the hymn book while they were in the service. They don't think about how to transition between songs. Their mic cables don't work, so they're popping constantly. And, but it's amazing to see how God works in them, and they are so excited to have us be a part. When we talk about money, just so I don't forget, things that you will need money for, when we go out to the Dominican churches, they do an offering time, just, $2 or $3, you can put in the offering plate for them. Again, we don't want to go crazy with that. I don't want you to think that you need to give them $100 or something, but you can give them American money. We never need to change money, ever. They're perfectly fine accepting any sort of money. I bet they'd accept Chinese money. But you'll be blessed to be able to go out and worship with them.
I think we have a video, two videos. Two
Next
videos
video.
of just a small clip of the church services, just in case you think that I'm kidding about needing the earplugs. It's much louder in person. So this is a large church. This is a very large church. So you're lucky if you get to go in there. They're very, very active, so they will want you to stand and clap and dance, and they will not want you just to sit in your seat and watch. They want you to be involved.
We were marching around.
So just a couple things that I wanted to add here. This is going to go over a couple extra little things that we offer. None of this is required at all. You do not have to participate in everything that we offer, such as the beach trip. We do plan to go to the beach one day. It is by no means a full day at the beach. It is like we leave after breakfast, we come back before dinner. It's a very quick trip, but we do have to pay the cost for transportation. Honestly, if we get enough people to fill a bus, it will be like $10, $15 a person. And then you have the option once you get there to get a table under an umbrella. Totally your choice, but again, it is a $5 or $10 cost. Completely optional.
And those, when you go to the beach also, they do have some restaurants right there close by. We will send food with you, so you don't have to do that, but I'm just saying, if you want to be prepared for that financially, those are things that you can be thinking about.
They're pretty expensive for restaurants.
Yeah, the restaurants are very
$15-20 a meal.
expensive. For what I don't prefer to eat there, but it's totally your choice. A couple other things that may cost just a little extra. Clinton, the missionary down there, has what he calls a wacky shack, and this is at the compound underneath. It's literally like in a stairway thing. But he sells ice cream, he sells snacks, he sells souvenirs, pop. That's the only place you can get pop. If you're a pop drinker, you better take a lot of one, because that's the only place you're gonna get pop.
He also sells coffee that is, they grind the coffee right down the road. It's a local person that does it, so they sell bags of coffee. I don't know, how much are they? $7.
And all of that money goes to, it's called Del Rey Ministries, and they train pastors. Some of the American pastors that we know go down there, and they do classes with the Haitian pastors. They do a lot of training. So all of that money from the coffee goes to them. It is no problem to bring home. Put it in your checked bag. It's not an issue. I think that's.
There's one more
Oh,
slide.
the women's sale is also another thing that you can consider. Everything on the tables that you see here, those are all things that you can buy while you're down there. On one of the last days, the women from the local village will come in with things that they have made. or bought somewhere and are selling to you. Either way, it's a good way to bring souvenirs home for your family or support some of those people. Some of them do have actual handmade stuff, hats and things like
Paintings.
that. The paintings that are over there, they're beautiful paintings. If you're planning on buying a painting, plan for $25 to probably $40 or $50, depending on how big it is. You can take it off the frame, roll it up, and put it in your bag also. So those are, I think, all of the extra costs that you may want to take part in. Again, none of it is required.
Okay. Just before we start into this packet, can you go back to the picture of Austin's church? I just want to, some of you know about this project. I think it was one that had
I'm trying to
two
get
pictures.
there.
Yeah, there it is. Some of you know about the project we've started and committed to raising money for. This is Pastor Osnell, for those of you who don't know. He's this blurry guy right here. We have,
Do you want me to?
pictures.
Do you want me to get a better?
Yeah, if you have one.
It'll take a
Troy's
minute.
going to find a better picture. But okay, so Jess has known Osnell for a long time. She lived there. Osnell worked there, and Osnell preaches. He's between Haiti and the Dominican. His wife is in Haiti. A lot of times doing ministry, she hauls things up the mountain to the widows in Haiti. She walks miles and miles to do this. So we have committed to try to actually buy property and build a congregation, build a facility for Pastor Osnell and his congregation. They're a Haitian church in Otamayor, just outside, but the land that they were on is not working out, and they're going to have to leave at some point soon, so we want to build them somewhere permanent. So in the last year, we have been able to raise about $24,000 for that cause, which is way beyond what we ever expected to raise in this period of time. So we are at the point where I'm going down a week from today and hoping that we can look at properties. I want to meet with a lawyer down there just so we can understand all the legal stuff. And we are hoping that in February we can actually buy the property. Now, we're working with Dominicans, so our plans don't mean anything, but that's what we're planning on doing. And hopefully then when we go, we have a summer trip going this year, and hopefully this summer we will be able to actually do some construction on that congregation.
I thought I had some pictures of
So-
the video.
That's what,
Yeah, we played a cut down one.
here's a video of Osnell's church if you haven't seen it.
Maybe.
Maybe. Well, we'll keep going and see.
Wait, never mind. I'm done.
Okay, so as we go through this packet, do you want to talk about the last little things before the packet or after? Being cautious. Okay, so I feel like I'm always the bearer of bad news or like the heartbreaker or something. So as we go down there, there's a very important thing that we need to talk about, and that is your relationship with the Dominican and Haitian people and the workers at MGM. For those of you who don't know, MGM is called Meeting God in Missions. They're who we partner with to make this happen. They provide the housing and the transportation, all that. So I say this every year. I don't imagine that I've been clear about it because we have had several problems with this in recent years. The people that work for MGM will be fired if they are found to be having any kind of personal, inappropriate, any kind of relationship with anybody on the trip. This is very serious for them. This is the only source of income that they have. This is actually a huge opportunity for them to have regular employment with MGM, and MGM will not tolerate any kind of inappropriate relationships.
That means just even dating.
Yes.
They don't want you dating their workers.
So because of that, we are asking, please, and it is not on the Americans most of the time, they see hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people every year come through there. And they know exactly what to say, exactly how to tug on your heartstrings, exactly how to, sway you in one direction. But please, please, do not give them your phone numbers. Do not give them your email address. Do not add them to Facebook, because this just happened. Carol and I and Troy, maybe some of you in this room who've been there, I'm not sure, I haven't heard yet from anybody else. We all received messages on Messenger, on Facebook, from a Haitian girl in the Dominican. We've never met her. We have no idea who she is. We're not friends with her on Facebook. We have no idea how she got our name. She apparently went through other Dominicans' Facebooks and found friends of friends of friends, whatever. But she messaged all of us separately asking for us to provide money for her and she's pregnant, she says, and she's having a baby very soon. So that just gives you an idea. Carol had no idea that I got that message. I had no idea that she did. Troy just happened to mention it to me. So when they're asking you for things, they're not just asking you, they're asking multiple people. Do not give the employees money. They will be fired for that. It has happened, and it is very sad. When they come to you and say, I don't have any shoes, this has happened to us. Somebody comes wearing the worst pair of tennis shoes that they have. They have holes in them. You can see their toes. Like, they're terrible. Like, Josh, I really need a new pair of shoes. Can I please have a new pair of shoes? I need a new pair of shoes. Josh gives this guy a pair of shoes. He comes back the next day in a brand new pair of shoes that weren't the shoes that he gave him. The same thing happened with somebody giving this same guy work boots. Turns out he had gotten work boots from several people. So,
Not to mention any names. But he's in this room.
So we just ask that you please just, if there is a need and somebody approaches you for something or for money, we are happy to talk about it. We are happy to see if there is anything we can do for their family, if we can get them food. We have bought people stoves and refrigerators and these things. We are okay with helping, but it really has to be done in the appropriate way. We really can't have personal relationships, dating, those kinds of things. It's not, we can't do it.
And again, you wouldn't think we would need to say that. I wouldn't have thought we needed to say that either, but we do.
Every time.
So we're not trying to make this stuff sound bad. We're just trying to tell you the worst of the things to be prepared for. This trip is a blessing. Everything that you experience is a blessing. We're just telling you the things to not get caught up in, because they are good at trying to convince people of things.
I think that's it, other than just when you go out to the villages, you don't need to take any money with you. You just take your water bottle, maybe you want to take your Bible, that's fine. Take a little backpack, sunscreen, bug spray, whatever. You do not need to take money with you. The kids are very good at getting in your bag when you're not looking.
Yes.
So if you're taking a phone, a camera, make sure you know where it is.
I had a large sum of money stolen out of my bag once.
While we were sitting next
While
to
we're
it,
sitting
I'm not kidding.
right there.
There were
Okay,
two of
got
us
it.
sitting right next to the bag, and there was one Dominican sitting. It was me, Josh, the bag, a Dominican, and I kid you not, that Dominican got all of his money out of that bag without us ever seeing it, and we were sitting right there. I mean, a lot of money.
He is good. He was good.
He was very, and as soon as we realized it very, very quickly, and we mentioned it to the guys that we were playing baseball with. They knew immediately. They looked around and they knew the kid that took it. They went to his house. They couldn't find him. All this, shoot, it was a mess.
So the point is, even at the compound, nobody's going to take stuff. It is very safe. You don't have to worry about your belongings, but don't tempt them either by just leaving $100 laying out. Just be smart about it.
If you tuck your stuff away in your suitcase, it is fine. The workers at MGM are very safe. They're not going to go through your stuff. They're not going to steal your stuff. You don't have to worry about that. You just have to be cautious when you leave the compound there, and we're with people that we don't know.
We will do we'll do this the Osnell video in a minute. But you just want to go through this stuff on this sheet really quick. So your flight information is here at the top. We are leaving at 6:05 a.m. That means the plane leaves 6:05. That means they will stop boarding, I don't know, 15 minutes before that. We need to be there 2.5 hours prior to that. I would normally say 3, but I don't think the ticket counter is going to be open before that point. But just make sure it's not, you need to be 2.5 hours.
If
right?
your bag is not checked 1 hour early, they will not do it. 1 hour early.
So, like I said, usually it's 3 hours, but 2.5 hours is fine because it's not going to be open. So make sure that you check with us. Once you get to the airport, I think I wrote on here that, sorry I volunteered you, Bill and Jen, to do this. They didn't know that until now. But Jen, can you raise your hand? Jen and Bill, so everybody knows. Jen and Bill, they will have a list of everybody on the trip. When you get through security, you need to see one of them so they can check you off the list so we make sure everybody got through, right? Jess and I will be at the ticket counters checking people off the list to make sure everybody got there. So we want to make sure you got to the airport, and then we want to make sure you got through security, right? So just make sure you see some of them. My phone number is right here in case you have any problems getting through security or anything. Make sure that you keep your baggage receipt. When you get to Pittsburgh, you give them your bags. They will hand you a receipt, stickers with like a barcode thing on them. You have to have those to get your bag in Punta Cana. When you pick up your bag off the carousel thing, they will check your stuff to make sure it's correct when you're leaving to go out of that the baggage claim area. So make sure that you keep those. Just keep a pen and paper handy, or just keep a pen handy because you will have to fill out forms on the second flight after we have our layover in Chicago. Probably 2 hours before we get to Punta Cana, they'll give you some forms. You have to fill them out. If you look right now on the last page, all the way to the back, Punta Cana Airport directions. So this will tell you how to get through the airport, right? Sometimes that airport is totally fine. The last couple times we've been to Punta Cana, it has been a mess. So it can be very, especially if you've never been there, it can be very crazy. Once you get off the airplane, they will shuttle you or will walk to customs. We will start through the line. This is telling you exactly what you will encounter. Because a lot of times, the first few times I was there, I had no idea what was coming next. So you're trying to hand them everything that you have and they don't want it. So the first thing, you have to pay $10. You have to have $10 cash to pay. It's a tax to get in the country. And then you can read through these. You have to give different people different forms and all those kind of things. So this is there to tell you what to expect, so you're not, just left to the unknown. Where it says blue form and white form down below that, this is telling you. I think the forms have changed slightly. They are kind of more. They are explained a little better on the form, but this tells you how to fill out the forms because sometimes they are written just in Spanish, right? So it's pretty difficult to fill those out if you don't know how to read Spanish.
And they give you the forms on the airplane.
Yeah, they'll give you the forms on the airplane. So they'll give you those forms on the airplane. You keep those until you get to customs, then you'll have to give those to people. At the end, they'll stamp your passport and you'll go to check your bags, and then after that, you'll go through security again. Sometimes they don't even check your stuff at security. Sometimes they will stop a lot of us. I can tell you the more baggage that we have, they will probably stop us.
And if they're in the mood where they're letting people go, I'm not even kidding, like,
Just go.
go. Do not
If you see
stop
other
for
people
anything.
going, just go.
Just go. Because once they stop, they're stopping everybody else.
They will get your attention if they want you to be the one to stop. Usually it's if you have some kind of weird bag, like we've taken tubs in the past, and if we have a Rubbermaid tub, I can guarantee you if that's the only one that we have, it will get stopped. So the point is just keep going if they don't stop you. So baggage policies, I'm back to the first page. We are all on United Airlines. Everybody is. I think this is the first year that we weren't split up. The first bag is $30. If you want to take a second bag, that's $40. That is both ways. So $30 one way, $30 coming back home. That is not included in the trip price. This is, third bag is $150. I don't know why anyone would do that, but that will also apply. I don't know what the price is. I think it's about $150 if your bag is overweight. So your bag can be 50 pounds. I would try to not be close to 50 pounds because you will get charged a lot of money if your bag is over that.
Can I add something?
Yep.
So, also this year, we have had an awesome donation. Du Bois High School has donated all of their old basketball jerseys, warm-ups, jacket things, all that kind of stuff, basketballs. This is something that they cannot buy there. So we try not to take donated items, but this is something that they cannot buy, and it is going to be a huge help to some of their basketball teams play in their regular clothes because they have no uniforms. So if there are people, family members, husbands and wives, things like that, if you're able to get all of your stuff into one bag and you wouldn't mind taking some of that stuff because we are going to have to pay for extra baggage, if you wouldn't mind taking some of that and putting it in your baggage, if we have a ton left over, we will get suitcases from Goodwill, and if you would mind taking an extra suitcase, we will pay for the extra bag, but the more we split them up, the less the cost is. So if there's anybody willing to take a few jerseys, that would be great. They're upstairs in tubs right as you walk in the doors.
Okay. Second page, just talking about the carry-on. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. Your carry-on cannot be huge, right? Just don't have a big, don't expect to carry a massive suitcase on as your carry-on. It gives you the actual dimensions, all those kind of things on here. You can take a carry-on bag and you can take one personal item, like a purse or briefcase or something like that. So that will give you all the dimensions and those kind of things. We have listed here also just kind of, this is from MGM's website, just kind of some things you can expect to pack. Insect repellent, I would highly suggest doing that because there are a lot of mosquitoes. The Dominican Republic does have that, I think. Do they still have problems with that?
I haven't heard much about it, but
I don't know. In the past, they've had that Zika virus. I've never heard of anyone at MGM actually having that. I don't know if that's a problem down in Dominican or not. But the point is, be safe and take insect repellent. I think on the second to last page, I have some things that I got off the CDC website, I think, about insect repellent and what kind to get and those kind of things. As far as the dress code, do you want to deal with?
yeah, so the dress code, we like to be very conservative. When we go out into the villages, we ask that you wear t-shirts, nothing with cut-off sleeves. You can wear shorts, capris, whatever, but please, we are not okay with running shorts, the shorts that, you know, they're to here, but then they cut up to here.
Do you have a diagram there?
Yeah.
So you can be short.
So when we go to church, the women are expected to wear a dress or skirt. Knee length or longer would be fine. Shirts with sleeves on them. Men are expected to wear like khaki type pants or something like that, and a shirt with a collar. You can wear tennis shoes, whatever with them, but they do expect you to dress nice for
I
church.
don't think they like men to wear sandals
Yeah.
to church either.
But other than that, it's if you dress conservative, then we will have no problems. If you are wearing something like what's shown in the picture with the running shorts, we will have to ask you to go back in and change your clothes and then come back out and we can go from there. The spandex pants, yoga pants also are a no-go. If you're gonna wear long pants, sweatpants, things like that, you will want to make sure that you take a sweater, a light jacket, something like that. It is chilly in the mornings and in the evenings, depending on what you think chilly is. My husband's like, no. But, so take a light sweater, something like that.
Also, I think we'll talk about it later. Okay, so the ministry areas, we talked about what different ministry areas are available. You do not have to commit to one of those for the whole week. You can do different things every day. Every day there will be sign-up sheets available for you to sign up for what you want to do the next day. It's important that you do that because we have to know how much food to send to the different ministry areas. So make sure that you sign up every night. You can do something different every day if you want, that's fine. In the villages, again, just make sure that you stay together. Don't ever go off anywhere by yourself. Take hand sanitizer.
Lots and lots of, just take a little bottle. MGM has big jugs. You can fill it up when you're out, but take lots of hand sanitizer.
I highly suggest taking baby wipes. I think they're the best thing that you can possibly have with you on the trip. Number one, you don't know when you're going to have to use facilities, and there are not facilities in the villages, and if there are, you don't want to use those ones anyway. I can tell you that for sure. So you'll probably be going into sugarcane fields. I can't really think of anything else in the villages. We'll give you an opportunity to ask questions. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, how often do you go to church?
We will go to, that is a very good question, thank you. I don't know how we missed that. We will go to Dominican churches 2 to 3 times, probably 3 times. Every morning we will have devotions together in the upper room. I think there was a picture of it there. Every morning we will do that, except for we're not going to do that. The first Sunday morning we won't because we're going out to Dominican churches. But other than that, we will do every morning together. We will also have worship together in the evenings, probably 3 times or so at MGM. So we will spend a lot of time either going out to church or spending time worshiping God together and hearing from His Word. And we will we have some pastors going. We will have them do some devotions, and we'll be asking them to do those things. So you can expect to do that a lot. We talked this year also about, we'll talk more about it when we get to Dominican, but Bill is going to coordinate one of the last evenings. I think we're going to open the opportunity for like baptism. We're going to have worship outside. Last year there was a few of us that were able to stay for the extra few days, and we did worship outside. There's like a kind of a gated yard thing, and they have like a baptismal and things like that. I've never actually seen them do baptisms down there. I've heard of them doing it, but we're not saying you have to do that. We're just going to provide opportunities. So Bill is somebody that you can talk to once we get down there if that's something you're interested in. If nobody wants to do it, that's fine. We'll worship together.
Josh?
Yeah.
We don't need dresses on when we go upstairs, though.
No,
Just when
no.
we go to the churches.
Yeah.
And
Go ahead.
if you want, it's much easier if you just take, for example, one skirt or one dress and just wear it every time, because you're only going to have it on for an hour or two. So it's really, you don't have to pack a dress for each church service.
Yeah, as we worship together at the compound, you don't have to wear anything crazy for that. You will see a lot of things in the villages. Make sure that we don't want you wearing sandals out in the villages at all. Make sure you take some kind of shoes, because I think it was last year or the year before, but we were doing children's ministry, and we were sitting down under the only tree that was available in the beating down sun, and we just happened to start looking around. There's razor blades and glass broken up everywhere. So you don't know what you're going to encounter. They throw garbage everywhere. They don't use garbage cans. In the villages, there will be garbage laying everywhere.
And they
So
don't use bathrooms, really,
Yeah.
so.
So just make sure that you wear shoes in the villages. Money, you can take whatever you want based on the things that we talked to you about. The snack shop thing is open every evening. At some point it's open. But just take small bills. Don't hand them a $50 or $100 bill. It's just very inconvenient. 1s and 5s and 10s, that should be sufficient. On the next page, there's just information I found online about what is effective insect repellent. And it says from MGM a little bit down there. These are some things that they need down there in the Dominican that we can donate to them if you want to. You don't have to do that. That's fine if you want to though. They're asking for children's vitamins. Peanut butter is a huge thing down there. It is very expensive, so there's a lot of times we take peanut butter for them. So if you want to buy them a couple jars of peanut butter and throw it in your bag, that would be great. In the past, if you were married and staying in one of the rooms by yourself, in the past they provided sheets for you. If you could do that yourself, that would be a great help to them this year, because they spend a lot of time washing things and all of that after we leave. And then just if anybody has food allergies, make sure you tell us, make sure you tell people in charge at MGM. We just want to make sure that we are aware so we can help facilitate whatever you need for things to go well. I think that is it. Does anybody have any questions? Yeah.
Would we need a credit card for anything, or would we say for just keep it at home?
I usually take mine just
It would only
because-
be on the state side that we would use it, right, or no?
Or in
Or
the
at Punta
airport
Cana.
at
You can
Punta
use it,
Cana
yeah.
while we're waiting for our flight. There's a Burger King and like all these different
Okay.
restaurants.
Yeah.
That's the only place we would really use it, is in the airports both ways.
And if you're gonna take it, make sure you call your credit card
Yeah.
company.
all
Yes.
day.
Oh, okay.
Because I've taken one and it's not worked.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And another thing before we forget is make sure you put your phone on airplane mode, unless you make sure with your provider that you have it taken care of, because there have been people that have come home, not from our trips, I don't think, but other trips who have had $700-800 phone bills because they don't shut their phone off, right? And it's searching for data.
You gotta turn off your cellular data.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the key thing.
And there's no Wi-Fi, there's nothing like that. If there's an emergency, the MGM workers have phones that can call the United States. Josh, you usually get an international plan. One of us will have an
Somebody
international
will.
plan. If there's an emergency, you can use our phone, call home, something like that. But there's really, even with the Wi-Fi that MGM tries to use, it is very, very unreliable and does not work 98% of the time.
So here's the problem with the internet. They have it available, but somehow by the end everybody finds out what the password is and everybody's on it, and it doesn't work great in the first place.
And it never
So
works.
it's not a reliable way to expect that you're going to be able to talk to people on that.
And our focus is to disconnect, right? Disconnect with the social media kind of thing, and really just focus on our fellowship with one another, getting to know one another, our mission down there and what we're doing.
Any other questions? Good.
Passport, I see on the first page there about having access to a pen and passport. But when we're in the country, do we carry our passport with us?
No.
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 Keep it tucked away in your suitcase or wherever.
Do we need a form of any ID
No.
down there?
No.
And what about electricity?
It's the same
Same as here.
setup. Yeah, there's no adapters. You don't need anything like that.
Do we have to carry a
Just carry, the best thing to do is to pack your medications in your carry-on bag. As long as there is a label on the bottle that you're taking, it is no problem. Insulin pens, all of that, it is no problem as long as you have the actual label on your prescription medication. Pack it all in your checked bag, because if you get there, or in your carry-on, because if you get there and you don't have a checked bag, you're in big trouble if you don't have your medicine.
Don't we need, ID to get our plane tickets?
Just your passport.
Passport.
Yep, it's best, I don't know if you have like a little purse or a little thing for your passport, but it's best to use those kinds of things in the airports because you'll just need it all the time.
And as soon as your passport gets stamped in Punta Cana, you put it away for the week until you leave.
Yeah.
Go.
Is there, I don't plan on taking a lot of cash, but is there any type of limit that you're gonna get in trouble with customs or anything?
$10,000.
$10,000. $10,000.
Take over time?
You have to declare it.
Yeah.
They wanna get.
Yeah, no, they won't, I've never ever experienced them even trying to, but keep in mind, you wanna take 1s and 5s. If you have to take 10s, that's fine, but, 1s and 5s are the best source. Clinton will have changed sometimes, but towards the end of the week, after he's changed 20s and 50s all week, it is hard for him to get changed, so 1s and 5s. Who cares what the bank teller thinks when you go in with a $100 bill and ask for all 1s?
Another thing is with packing, a lot of you probably know this, but if you're taking any liquid in your carry-on, it cannot be over like 3.4 ounces. If it is, it will get taken from you and you'll get stopped.
You can take a water bottle, it has to be empty when you go through security, and then you can fill it up once you get to the airport. Then it'll have to be empty when you go through customs in Punta Cana, so just keep that in mind.
Yeah, it's just on your carry-on.
Just in
On
carry-on.
your carry-on, yep.
Yep. Go ahead.
Are we doing collections for like multivitamins, like ibuprofen?
Yes, I was gonna ask you about that and I forgot. So Derek is going to tell us, there are things that we can take to assist in medical ministry. We have some money set aside to buy things for medical ministry, but there are things that we can take that we have easier access to that will assist, and Derek is gonna tell us some of those things.
Go for it, Derek.
So mainly it's just, I know you guys already mentioned children's vitamins on there, but any kind of multivitamin too would be helpful, because that's one of the things that we always give to every single patient that we see in the medical ministry is a multivitamin. Also too, we give out ibuprofen, Advil, Tylenol, that type of stuff like candy out there too as well, because there's a lot of patients that are going to need some kind of pain reliever, that type of thing. So any of your type of things like that, you can also bring along for donation purposes here too.
Yeah.
That's basically our three main things.
So if you
Can I ask Derek a question?
yeah.
I know in the past we've had trouble getting clotrimazole cream down there.
Yes.
You can buy, this is like a fungal, is it
It's an
fungal
antifungal
cream?
cream, yeah.
And the kids will have like fungal infections on their heads, on their skin, things like that. And it's hard to get that. At the Dollar Tree, they have clotrimazole. Honestly, it's like the athlete's foot cream. So if you want to pick up some of that at the dollar store, last year I just cleaned off the entire shelf. It is cheap here. We have a very hard time getting it there. So that is so helpful, and very easy to fit in your bag. They're very light. So that would be super helpful. Yeah.
And something just, as Derek was talking about the ibuprofen and stuff, I was thinking about this, like, just to put in perspective the kind of people that they are treating and we're going to run into out in the villages. We ran into a guy, the only work that I know of out there is sugarcane, cutting sugarcane. I mean, there might be 0.5% of people working something else out there, but these are guys, I think we ran into a guy a couple of years ago. He said he had started working in sugarcane when he was somewhere around like 14, it might have been 12. And he was like 67 or something like that. So he had been cutting sugarcane every single day from like 14 to 67, and he was still going. So the point is, those are the people that we're taking pain medication for, is the people that have been doing those things and have back problems and, just have really labored their whole lives. So just so you understand the kind of people we're working with.
Do you want any empty pill bottles?
Yes. Yep. If you have empty pill bottles, if you would just take those labels off, wash the bottles real well, throw them in your suitcase, we would be glad to take them. We can always we try not to use Ziploc baggies, because guess what happens with the baggies? They just throw them out. You can get like those big coin envelopes. If anybody wants to donate those, throw them in your bag, we'll take them. We can always use stuff like that for medical.
What about immunizations? Are there ones that we should have?
So
Specific ones?
no immunizations are required to get into the Dominican Republic. They do recommend that you are up to date on your hepatitis B and a tetanus shot. If you're up to date on those things, you really have no problem. It is optional that you ask your doctor for medication to prevent malaria. They usually give you like doxycycline, something like that. That is fine. That is completely optional. We have not had problems with people and malaria, but keep in mind, if you get a prescription of doxycycline, please wear sunscreen because it has a sensitivity to sun. Yeah, you will be the color of the tablecloth. So if you're gonna take the medication, make sure you lather up. We have not had problems, but I don't want to tell you that and then you not take the medication. It's totally up to you.
Another thing with that is make sure you take sunscreen. Because the sun, it's different, the heat, all of that stuff, it's just different, and we're gonna be out a lot in the sun. So.
And the lotion works much better than the spray. I don't know why, but it does, so.
Just to clarify, did you say hepatitis A or B?
I think it's B, isn't it? That is.
B, and then A is optional. also.
Yeah.
Okay.
For the most part.
And everybody should, I think that everybody should be up to date on, I think that's just a normal thing that people, right?
Anymore
Yeah,
now
your
is-
Tdap,
Yeah.
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 Especially, your tetanus is important, but remember too that your hepatitis, there are a series of vaccinations, so it's not something you can walk into the health department a week before we go and say, I want this. They confer over months, periods.
Unless you don't vaccinate, you should be fine. If you've been vaccinating your whole life, you should be fine. The tetanus is something though that you should make sure it hasn't been within that X amount of years that you have to have it again. 10 years. Any other questions for us? I feel like we've thrown a ton of information at you and maybe it's a little bit overwhelming.
Is there anything, are we doing anything for Bibles?
We
Adult
already
Bibles?
ordered them.
Oh, you did?
We ordered children's Bibles,
Children's, I knew about
$500 worth. We ordered
What about the
adults Bibles as well. I think we're getting somewhere around 140 Bibles total for adults. If you don't feel that that's enough, I'm more than happy to call and get
No,
some more.
that's fine, that's fine.
Just so you are aware, for those of you that have not gone, with prayer and evangelism, we will have Bibles available for them to hand out to people they meet in the villages. We'll have children's Bibles and normal Bibles.
Just Spanish and Creole this year, right?
Just Spanish.
Just Spanish.
It's very hard to get Creole Bibles. If anybody has any special connections, I'd love to talk to you. We like to get those audio Bibles in Creole. We've only ever been able to get 2 of them, right? The crank ones. We've only ever been able to get 2 of them, and they're very expensive and very, very hard to come by. So if anybody has any access to Creole audio Bibles, that would be, because a lot of the Haitians do not read.
And the reason for that, if you don't know, is that the Haitians out in the villages, there's some, especially the older ones, who speak Creole. They don't speak Spanish. A lot of times they don't even read Spanish. Even this church, we're going to show you, this is Pastor Osnell's, just a short video on his church, but a few years ago when Nick preached there, Nick had to speak to the translator, the Spanish translator, who had to translate it to Creole, who had to speak to their people. So there are some people that, even though Spanish is the language down there, some of the Haitian immigrants don't speak Spanish or read it. Any other questions at all? We're all good and know exactly what we're doing, right?